Hello, I'm in chat here. Oh, có trông.
Oh, chat here.
Anh nghĩ anh, madam.
Oh, cái chả Thian ra đấy cái gì ăn tụ.
Along với tôi cái rồi join thế à. Dar tu na kan participants here.
Miss Beck.
Aya.
Hello, YouTube akan tunggu live. Miss Paparimi.
Miss Papari anyang oh.
Hostan na in live sini lah sanju. Yang veli atira indu kon vek bok siamo.
Oh.
Oh, so me.
Ole.
Sir, karon start na chan sumo aling vel khathun chwa vel khangai se start ma shet minute ni vel karon start ni kha.
Okay.
Le kan chân mấy đôn nghe Miss Papar. Dariat ani ya.
Oh, iti danda no miss.
Le ani. Chân mấy ang an lâu lu zel torang ai la. A very good evening, everyone, and welcome to the last session of our 1 week international webinar on science in the 21st century. And my name is Rebecca Lelmonpui from the Department of Chemistry, Government Certificate College, and I'll be your host for tonight. And on behalf of the organizing team, Government Certificate College, I once again gladly welcome all our participants and our esteemed resource person, Dr. Lalchhanhimi. Thank you for joining us. And it was indeed a fruitful session the past few nights. And we have listened, and we have learned a lot from our different distinguished speakers from different fields of science. And I am sure everyone will also enjoy tonight's session too. And I sincerely everyone will learn and gain something out of tonight's presentation. And once again, I would like to thank our esteemed resource person, Dr. Lalchhanhimi, for sparing us your valuable time. And ma'am, your sincere effort is very much appreciated. And ma'am has fell sick due to COVID-19 with severe symptoms. But in spite of it all, she could be here with us tonight. And we are very, very grateful. And words cannot describe how grateful we are to have you with us tonight. And you are truly an inspiration. And we sincerely hope and pray for your fast and full recovery. And if you have any problem during your presentation, please feel free to share. And for our dear participants, if you have any technical issues or problems like signing in, our program is streaming live on Government Certificate College official YouTube. And at the end of the presentation, there will be a short interaction session. So if anyone have any questions or clarifications about the talk, you can feel free to type it in the chat box, which I will bring them up during the interaction session. And or otherwise, you can unmute yourself and feel free to interact with our speaker. And for those who are watching YouTube, Even if you have any questions, you can type your questions in the comment section, which I will bring them up during the interaction session. Now, let me introduce our speaker formally, Dr. Lalchhanhimi. Right now, she is a consultant of State Medicinal Plant Board, Directorate of Ayush, Mizoram, and she completed her bachelor and master degree from St. Edmunds, Meghalaya, and she secured third rank in the university examination for her bachelor degree. And she completed her PhD from Nehu, Meghalaya, and her research area is plant anatomy and reproductive biology. And she had translated and published medicinal plants and medicinal uses. Now, without further ado, I will turn over the time to our speaker to give her a presentation on conservation and sustainable utilization of medicinal plants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rebecca. And a very good evening to the organizers, Serchip Government College, and to all the participants here tonight. And I'd like to thanks, and I'm very grateful to the organizer for selecting, I can say, for selecting or for choosing me, including me among the big dignitaries to be as one of the resource person for this wonderful webinar organized by the college with the theme Science in the 21st Century. And as I was thinking that whether I'll be able to fulfill their objectives or not. And moreover, I was suffering for, as Dr. Rebecca has mentioned, that I was suffering for COVID-19. So, but I'm glad that tonight I'm here to share some of my knowledge on medicinal plants and some of my knowledge on medicinal plants and other things with you all. First of all, thanks to the Government College organizer, and thanks to the Almighty God for helping me to at this stage. And I'd like to congratulate the organizer, the college, CSU Government College, for the successful webinar. Yes, I can say the successful webinar, though it's not over yet, but I can say it is a successful because despite of my health problem, I was there every night for the presentation, and I've heard their achievements from those resource person. And I don't know whether the presentation or the objectives which I'm going to share will be helpful for the participants, or for this webinar will be or helpful for this webinar. Let's see. And I'm requesting all the participants and the listener, if they have any queries or anything, they can ask me at the end of the presentation. So let me start with my presentation. There's a problem with the screen sharing. It's showing post disabled participant screen sharing.
Yes, please try again. I've made the photo.
All right. Is it visible? Is it visible, Dr. Rebecca?
Yes, Miss, it is visible. Yes.
Okay, all right. Can I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. So as Dr. Rebecca has mentioned, and as it can seen in the screen, that the topic of my presentation is on conservation and the sustainable utilization of medicinal plants. Why I have chosen this is that though I'm not from the academic line anymore, since I've finished my PhD, but I'm working as a consultant in the state, yes, yes, in the state medicinal plants. Is it okay?
No, it's still the same.
Is it okay now?
No, ma'am.
Okay, let me try. Is it?
It is. No, no, ma'am. Yeah, now it's good.
It's good. Okay. Okay, very sure. So state medicinal, let me give a little bit introduction on where I'm working. State Medicinal Plants Board in Mizoram, we are mostly dealing with the medicinal plants for the states. Anything activities which comes related to medicinal plants. So we are dealing with medicinal plants only. So it's under the Ministry of Ayush, National Medicinal Plants Board. So conservation and sustainable utilization of medicinal plants, which is of immense importance in our day-to-day life, medicinal plants. We don't need to define what is medicinal plants. We all know that. We don't need to go to the basic of medicinal plants. We have learned since we have chosen science as our subject. So we don't need to go in details. Let's go to the exploration of medicinal plants. Exploration of medicinal plants. We can say, which is a matter of attraction to the scientists, traders, as well as pharmaceuticals, and is being regularly carried out. Let's say if we want to choose medicinal plants for cultivation, we should be very specific climatic condition. On what specific climatic condition those medicinal plants can be cultivated. And we should involve local farmers, that means medicinal plant cultivators who are registered as a farming for the medicinal plants. And it is another point will be necessary to plant tree species whose flowers and fruits which are used as drugs with more spacing gap or plantation in scattered form. And the plants where leaf, root, and bark is used spacing should be 5 meters is sufficient. Then we can say there is acute pressure on natural habitat of medicinal plants. Why? Why there is acute pressure on natural habitat? Because of the unsystematic collection. What is unsystematic collection? We collected the medicinal plants from the wild and destroy their habitat. So there is a need of taken some major activities like establishment of medicinal plants, conservation areas, which is known as MPCAS, Medicinal Plants Conservation Areas in potential habitat and species specific of such important and endemic medicinal plants of the region. And another point is Inhabitants need the awareness of conservation and cultivation of medicinal plants for the socio-economic upliftment. Then the conservation of medicinal plants is necessarily a long-term project because of the development and organization supported by educated staff and general public that is aware of conservation issues. And research information related to identification of threatened medicinal plants, areas of high biological diversity at the macro scale and property-specific medicinal plants at the micro scale should use the complementary skill of the conservation agrotechnique in order to provide large-scale quality planting material. And these are some exploration, we can say. Then medicinal plants exploration in Northeast has been carried out in various forests, including crude drug markets, up to the range wherever medicinal plants produced are sold in the markets. Then there are various attempts have also been made for the acclimatization through cultivation of medicinal plants from one zone to another in the region. Then these crude drugs produced are also traded in the markets of, say, for example, in Northeast, it's traded in Assam, West Bengal, Bihar, and even in the central market of Delhi. And let me give some of the example of high-valued medicinal plants from the state of Northeast which are available also in Mizoram, like Embelliorhides, Hydnocarpus curzi, Homalomena aromatica, Mesua ferri. There are many high-valued medicinal plants which needs to be conserved. And medicinal plants exploration needs to be done for such kind of high-valued medicinal plants. And these high-valued medicinal plants which are available in Mizoram also, and some parts of the Northeast where the conservation is not, the importance of conservation is not done. And then there arises the conservation, the urgency of conservation of medicinal plants. Why we can say, why there is a strong need. We always heard in our day-to-day life the conservation word, conservation of medicinal plants. We know from forest department also, I think many of you have heard, we need conservation. Why we need? Because these medicinal plants are increasingly facing major threats of various environmental, socio-economic, and institutional factors. And we can say because of over-harvesting of these plant species, which degrade their habitats, much of the medicinal plant species has become threatened and endangered. Even if medicinal plants are cultivated, excuse me, excuse me, please. Even if medicinal plants are cultivated in millions of hectares and thousands of botanical gardens are created, they can still become extinct. Why? Because if viable breeding population are not protected and conserved in the wild. Excuse me, please. And we can say there are major activities like proper identification, collection, characterization, evaluation, propagation, disease elimination, storage, and distribution. These are the major activities which are generally involved in sustainable conservation of important these medicinal plant resources. And conservation programs are not, if not undertaken, there can be a great danger of losing this priceless biodiversity. Maybe day-to-day life we are saying biodiversity, hearing of all these things, but until or unless we are conserving them, we cannot say that we have a priceless biodiversity. Then conservation of plant resources must involve an integrated and systematic, scientifically oriented program involving socio-economic and ecological system interaction. And there is a one way also we can say, another way, let's say, national strategy, which involves organizing a regional and national workshop, which will bring involvement and participation of experts on different aspects of the subject area for analyzing the situation, proposing objectives, defining priorities, and draw up a plan of action. So all these things keep in mind, we also can organize. Let's say example, tonight or this webinar a college has organized. So through this also we can, many of us, we can aware people regarding the protection of such medicinal plant resources. And with this, like there are many types of conservation strategies for medicinal plants biodiversity conservation and development strategies. We all know the word in situ conservation. We don't need to define it. Then this in situ conservation, it includes national park, sanctuaries, bioreserves. We have national park and sanctuaries at our place also, in our own state also. But how many of us, we go there and visit the sanctuaries, the national park, the bioreserve, wherever, not in Mizoram, in all over the India, wherever we go, how many of us we thought of conserving them in that natural habitat or in that sanctuaries? We just see and took photographs, but what it comes in our mind that it ever comes in our mind that we should conserve? What is the next step will be? So the next, like national park bioreserve, as I have already mentioned, then sacred groves also. Many of us, I think, we have already visited. And then on-farm conservation. Then home gardens are there. That is the easy way of conservation. Okay, let's not go to national park, bioreserve, and let's not do all those. On-farm conservation is what? On-farm conservation. On-farm conservation means cultivation at your own, like farmers, they cultivated medicinal plants. Even under our the guidance of SNPB, means State Medicinal Plant Board, where I'm working, we are motivating farmers for cultivating more medicinal plants. This is another way of conservation. And home garden, of course, it is in small scale, but we can do it. We can grow important medicinal plants. Say, for example, small tulsi or dhania also, you grow in your home gardens. That can conserve it. That for the future generation also, we can preserve and then conserve it also, the medicinal plants. Then there are some of the major steps of in situ. Now come to ex situ conservation. Under the ex situ conservation, we can say it can be for long-term preservation. Okay, now as we all know, plants in like outside their location, natural habitat preservation. So botanical gardens created gene banks. Then let's see, there are many types like under ex situ seed bank. I'm not going to details of all those gene banks, seed banks, cryopreservation, vitrification, encapsulation. All those we don't need to go in details. What we can do right now is the in situ conservation, as I have mentioned, is on-farm conservation, and home garden is the best and the easiest way of the conservation of our plant resources. Then let's say the importance of traditional knowledge traditional knowledge of herbal remedy. What is the importance? That socially folk medicines, let's take, mainly based on plants, okay, enjoy a respectable position today. Why? Why we are saying that they are enjoy a respectable position? Because in the developing countries where modern health service is very limited, then we need safe, very effective and inexpensive indigenous remedies, which are the folk medicines or the medicines which are getting from the readily available medicinal plants. And a floristic survey of ethno-medicinal plants also was conducted over the period for last 5 years for treatment of various diseases. Then traditional knowledge of herbal remedy to treat human disease is declining very fast in many parts of the world, including even in India. Even today, tribals and certain local communities in India are still practicing herbal medicine to cure a variety of disease. Even in Mizoram, let's say we are in Mizoram, okay, just excuse me, those who are not from the state Mizoram, but let me mention a little bit about Mizoram. In Mizoram also, many are there who are totally dependent on this herbal medicines. They come to us also, since we are dealing with the medicinal plants. So they are practicing, they are trying to cure some ailments with these medicinal plants. We call them as a local practitioner, or in Hindi they call this as a Vedya or something like that, if we know those words. So they are totally dependent on the medicinal plants for their for the treatment of for the cure of the diseases. And the bioresources of Mizoram also comprise a great share of natural resources, right? So the agro ecosystem as well as natural ecosystem harbor immense genetic potential, more than 200 ethno-medicinal plants for their efficacy to cure diseases like bleeding from nose, fever, malaria, fever, asthma, tuberculosis, and even stones in kidney. We are trying to take treatment with the help of these medicinal plants. And I can add that over 60% people living in the interior part of the state depends on herbal medicines. So, and there is an urgent need to record all the ethnobotanical information. Now, even the ethnobotanical studies is also declining. Even in MZU also, even in Northeastern Hill University and other university also, I can say the study of ethnobotanical is declining. So to preserve or to record this ethnobotanical information, medicinal plants, we need to go again study all these things. So that is the importance of medicinal plants. So we can recommend that after surveying, mapping, and identification, we can have some collaborative and financial cooperation extended from governmental and scientific institutions to prepare a database of medicinal plants, even for our state, our own state, those from belonging to different states. Then Ministry of Ayush. Ministry of Ayush is, I think Ayush, all of you are familiar with the word. It's Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, homeopathy. Like we these days, maybe in pandemic or during COVID, since last 2 years, like when this pandemic has arisen, this Ayush medicines also, I think you have taken as an immune booster. So this Ministry of Ayush, they're working very hard for like a simple formulation for immunity boosting. Like they recommended this tulsi leaves, dalchini, what we call thakthing in Mizo, that dry ginger powder and black pepper, that for just for immunity boosting measure they have. And India has also 15 agroclimatic zone. and 17,000 to 18,000 types of blooming plants, in which 6 to 7,000 are evaluated have a therapeutic properties. Say 6 to 7,000 have therapeutic properties, right? So around 960 types of medicinal plants are assessed to be in trade, and of which out of 960 medicinal plants, 178 species have yearly consumption levels of more than 100 metric tons. So the significant shared characteristics of the Indian old style and the folk healthcare tradition is their reliance. Means Ministry of Ayush, or those who are dependent on these medicinal plants, they and the health and the what do you call Indian old style of the this folk healthcare tradition are totally dependent on the plant resources. And excuse me, please. Now we can say utilization of medicinal plants. And you just see what are the parts, how many percentage, say for example, roots 30%, I have mentioned, entire plants like bark, organic. There are few, like many of the, all the parts in according to the type of plants are used for the medicinal, are used as a medicinal plants. Then the biodiversity. Let's go to the biodiversity of medicinal plants. Biodiversity, as is often a variance measure of the health of biological system. This biodiversity of medicinal plants plays a predominant role by contributing significantly towards livelihood and development of the global human population. Let's see, biodiversity of medicinal plants comprise of natural ecosystem, agricultural ecosystem, wild and domesticated species. Then we cannot exactly give the number of exact figure for the distribution of such plants, but estimated are 35,000 to 70,000 number of plant species with medicinal value, which are widely distributed. In India, 7,500 numbers. Then a larger portion of medicinal plant species belonging to the plant family like Asteraceae, Euphorbiaceae, Lemoniaceae, and so on. Okay, let's not go details in that also. Then more than 800 species of medicinal plants are used in medicinal industry for commercial production, where about 90% are collected from wild. So 800 species of medicinal plants are used for medicinal industry. And 90% are collected from wild. Only 10%. So we need to cultivate also medicinal plant, as I have mentioned, instead of destroying the wild collection, instead of practicing wild collection. Then types of biodiversity in medicinal plants. Let me say some of the, like genetic diversity, species diversity. As all this definition we don't need, I think, in this stage, but let me, ecosystem diversity is also there, agro diversity, then concern all this diversity. Why? Because we need to keep in mind whatever we have studied in our in our BS, in our degree, or in our postgraduate. All this definitely it's come in our mind when we really go to the field and we work on the cultivation or the conservation, preservation, or multiplication of the medicinal plants, the resources which are available with us. Then overexploitation of medicinal plants are also being carried out now. Overexploitation, how? Like the pharmaceutical industries are always in need of, every day they are in need of this medicinal plants. Like pharmaceutical industry will say, the industry of Ayush industry also, they are in need. So people are in much like they are enthusiasts and they go for hunting the medicinal plants to the wildly collection. So this destroy the medicinal plants, which has had an effect on the pharmaceutical industries. And unscientific exploitation plants are being extracted for various purposes also. As if there is no proper studies on the reproductive biology of the plant so far, then the replacement of plants which are destroyed in their natural habitat cannot be done. So okay, now I think this can be the interesting part also for some of the listeners. Medicinal plants, we are explaining, or we are giving awareness, or we are giving importance to the medicinal plants, of its uses, of its conservation. Why? Now the marketing of medicinal plants is so much in a the marketing is so much important now for the farmers, all the farmers, even in our own state. The farmers are now in more interest to the marketing. Everywhere where you go, they ask about the uses of medicinal plants, and they end up with the marketing. The medicinal plants are not just significant asset for their customary medication, herbal industry. They are also important, we can say, the domestic trade of the Ayush business. No, the domestic trade of such medicinal plants is about rupees 80 to 90 billion every year. And the Indian therapeutic plants and their products are also exported in the range of 10 billion each year. So these are the some of the market aspect. Like, we cannot explain all the market value of medicinal plants for this presentation or for on this webinar, but we can say it has immense importance. Like India's local herbal industry is represented by 8,610 authorized herbal units. Okay, then the marketing of such medicinal plants, say, what are the profit in medicinal plants? It's very like cultivation, it's very okay. You can do with the agriculture background, or you can do with the even the farmers can cultivate easily, and sometimes more than the farmers are more knowledgeable than the say for the dealing staff, or dealing the technical person. The farmers are more involved in cultivation. But what are the profits in farming these medicinal plants? According to the Traditional Treatment Healthcare Center, 25 significant medicinal plants are always in full demand. 25 significant medicinal. They are Indian barberry, then isabgol, Ceylon pepper, Brahmi, which are the common. I'll just mention the common. The kalmeg also, Satavari, Ashwagandha. All these are always in the demand from the Traditional Treatment Healthcare Center. But in our own state also, we cannot fulfill, say, I'm talking about the importance of marketing of such medicinal plants needed by those traditional treatment, healthcare, or Ayush industry. But unless or until we practice the conservation or the cultivation first, we cannot go for the marketing of such plants at this stage. And the marketing is so like you cannot just marketing potential we need to know. Like you can see in the slide, the how the futures till the future, the global herbal trade stands at this, and about 80% of the world's population is dependent on medicinal plants, okay, for healthcare, and 20% of the pharma drugs are of plant origin, either extracted from plants or synthetic derivatives of these plant species. Then global market for medicinal and aromatic plant is largely dominated by China, Japan, France, Germany, Italy, Spain. And herbal drugs are used in like we can say cardiovascular, respiratory, digestive, hypnotics, and some other treatment and miscellaneous. There are many uses of such. And the India exports say 75% of medicinal and aromatic plants. Now let's see this the scenario for the in India as a country. Okay, what we our state we are doing, what we are exporting. So these can be our contribution, what we can do in the plant, medicinal and aromatic plant sector, what we can export. And before exporting, what are the major steps? I have already mentioned. I think if you all have listened well, that what are the major steps we have to do before marketing, before going to export this. So those are all the steps which I have already mentioned in my previous slide. So that comes to the end is the marketing of such medicinal plants. It's not that you go, marketing is important, medicinal plants have a high value of marketing, let's go and collect from the wild and export. No, it's not like nothing like that, nothing deal with that. This medicinal plants and aromatic herbs, and this have a different segments, it has a different importance. So different segment, as you can see in the previous slide I have shown. And there are top medicinal herb for okay, let's stop the marketing analysis in that. Okay, so some of the top medicinal herb for home-based garden. These are the some of the I have highlighted only a few which are very much common to the medicinal to the state also, and to tonight listener, I think, so that I have kept this one. Say for in Mizo also I've kept the name Phyllanthus umbilica, which is called Sunlu, Tinospora cordifolia, Shui Vankai. I think if this government Seship College have they remember, we have distributed this Shui Vankai or Tinospora cordifolia to their college campus. And this Centella asiatica and Azadeh Neem, okay, Moringa oleifera, Justicia adatoda, Asparagus racemosus. These are the few which have been given by the Ministry of Ayush. So the day to day we can use it from our own home kitchen or home garden. And I have mentioned in okay, local language, Mizo language, the part of the plant which can be used. Say for example, Sunlu, Phyllanthus umbilica, that amla. Apeng manate. Let's little bit include this Mizo chong also, okay? Ara, okay? The fruits we can use. And then lambak, Centella asiatica. The whole plant as a salad also we can use. All of us we know, but I think many of us we ignore it sometimes. But these have a very much important in for the Ayush. Ayush, they have in Ministry of Ayush, they have given such importance to this lambak, which are very much growing in our everywhere if you go. And this Asparagus racemosus, this is not so common archebok, but have a very much importance. And then coal dye also, the white flower, okay. And Shui Vankai, and this Osimum Tulsi, like even for this COVID and all pandemic, we use it very much, okay. Then this Moringa oleifera, all this these are few only, like 1% of the important medicinal plants which we can use easily. I have shown for this presentation, okay. Then this Neem, it's so surprising that United Nations tree of the 21st century, Neem, which we call Neem thing in Mizo, okay, and Neem as in Hindi also. It has an immense importance. Then it has been selected as one of the tree of the 21st century by United Nations. All right, and the below with the blue flowers, this is the Kamelina Erecta. Kamelina Erecta has a medicinal value of for skin irritation, and it is found in America, Africa, and Western, but now it is found in the forest of Andhra Pradesh, Konda Vida. So this, just to have a knowledge on this, that what the United Nations have selected the trees for the 21st century, and what are there are some new species are coming up. So maybe these important plants which I have mentioned, medicinal plants, and this conservation, maybe some of the listener or some of the participants, or maybe the uh, organizing. Okay, I'm concluding my presentation. All right, but I just wanted to mention whatever I have said or whatever I didn't say tonight. What I just wanted to like everything, or all the importance, or all the conservation point, all the preservation point. I just wanted to mention it, but it's not possible. It's not possible to give all the details of the medicinal plants and their uses tonight. But some of the points which I've highlighted from there also, I think we can make a conclusion that utilization, a sustainable utilization of medicinal plants can be done by protecting the widely available medicinal plants and by conservation, as different methods I have mentioned. So practicing all this, we can conserve our medicinal plant resources of our state, of our country, of our Northeast region, of our state first, then Northeast region, then India. Then after that, we can think over to about the world and all so on. So I just want to wind up with this, that conserving, preservation, utilization of medicinal plant should be kept in mind. See, all the presentation, let me mention, last few nights, like 3-4 nights, I have listened the physics field, then chemistry subject, and then okay, from the chemistry, physics, okay, I think that's all. Though I'm not from that field, but some, like zoology also, okay, zoology easily, okay, we can take it up, but all those physics, chemistry, zoology people, though as being a botanist or being a specialist in medicinal plants, I don't understand maybe the physics part. Most of the physics which have been present by the resource person, I didn't get it. Okay, but I enjoyed the presentation because it's a new thing for us. But those physicians, those chemistry involved in chemistry subject, those which are in chemistry subject, in the line of chemistry, they can conserve, right? It's not easy, it's not hard. They can conserve the medicinal plant resources. Though we cannot make such chemicals, such what to say, those physics and all those things we cannot make as a botanist. But those physicians, they can, those chemistry people, they can of course conserve. They can of course protect the forest from wild cultivation. So I request all the participants and all the whoever are listening. So and thanks for bearing with me with all this. Say I'm not feeling that much well, so I cannot speak well. Also, I didn't speak well, I know, and I didn't speak to, maybe not to the point, but still, I request all of you to, what was my objective was to just to follow and for the future generations. Okay, with all this, I thank the organizer once again, and to the host, Dr. Rebecca, for giving me such a wonderful time. And in future, if anything, we are always there to help and to give our guidance in any field or any other. So with all this, I thank to all the participants also for your time. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your great presentation. That was amazing. That was very amazing. and that was very easy to understand, and that was personally also I find it very interesting, and I'm sure everyone will learn something out of your presentation, that we need to really conserve the medicinal plants, and Mizoram is rich with biodiversity, and we have lots of medicinal plants and trees. So we really need to conserve them for our future generation. At this juncture, we will go ahead and take some time for questions, and please feel free to interact with our speaker. If you have any question, like I mentioned earlier, you can either type it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and directly interact with our speaker. You can even interact with our mother tongue. Mizo oh, by now. Okay, anyone? From the chat box, we have one question. Shall I read it out for you, ma'am? Is there? It is from Dr. Lalchhanhimi. Is there any ethnobotanical plants of Mizoram having high potential in marketing as herbal medicine? Is there any ethnobotanical plants of Mizoram having high potential in marketing as herbal medicine?
Okay, thank you for the question. And thank you that I think this is the first question from the participants in this webinar. I think I'm very much thankful for that. Yes, there is, say for example, we are dealing with this Oroxylum indicum, which have a very much high potential in Ayush industry. Because of that, this Oroxylum indicum is known as Archangkom. I think we all know that in Mizo. Archangkom is in Hindi Tisyonaka. So it has a very much, and this Amla also it has. But right now we are dealing like which varieties of Amla. So we are still in a, I mean, we are doing some work on which varieties of Amla should be exported or have a high potential for marketing. Though it's so much available in Mizoram, but we are in a still in a process to know the varieties. If once we know the variety of the Amla, so we can, I think, say that it also has a high potential for marketing. So these are some of the few examples right now I can give.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else having questions? Please feel free. Okay. Again, ma'am, from my side, from your delightful presentation, I am thrilled to mention a few things. Like, first of all, our campus is very green and beautiful. It has a very rich biodiversity. And our campus itself is our arboretum and botanical garden, where we have different species of trees and plants. Some are rare, some are endangered, and some have medicinal values that are natural to our campus, and we conserve them. And one more thing I want to mention is that last year our college initiated a program called Donate a Plant program, which was a hit. Let's say everyone was enthusiastic about donating a plant. Our students, faculty member, office staff, and even the alumni members, even the local people. they were very much ready to donate a plant. So they started donating a plant, and some of the donated plants were have medicinal value. So in our campus, we own a demonstration garden and greenhouse where we conserve them. So let me say, in our campus, we followed ex situ conservation strategy at all possible levels. So I just want to mention that one. Okay.
Okay, Dr.
And
okay. Let me.
so
Okay. Before ending up, I just wanted to say to Government Stewardship College, as you have mentioned, so much you have done, those situ strategic conservation and this I just want to give some advice or a kind of suggestion to the college, and to not only to the Stewardship College, if some other colleges are also there in as the participants, that as an institute, you can go for this herbal garden project also through State Medicinal Plants Board. So herbal garden project also you can give a proposal. And one more thing, you can propose for this training or workshop or seminar. You can give a project proposal for that on medicinal plants through SMPB. SMPB is the State Medicinal Plants Board. So through us, you can submit your project proposal for herbal garden, training, workshop, seminar, etc. at the district level, regional level, national level. There are funds available for this. So I just request, or I just inform you that you can apply for all this project proposal. Okay. This is not only for this college, for other colleges also.
Okay. We'll take a note of that, ma'am, and we'll try to follow that. And we'll try to do that too. Okay. And thank you once again for answering those questions, and thank you for clarifying those, and thank you for your advice, and thank you for your time. And we have now come to the end of our program for tonight's session, and the end of 1 week international webinar on science in the 21st century. But before we wrap up our program, I'd like to invite Mr. C. Lalramdana, head of the department, Mathematics, Government Stewardship College, to give vote of thanks.
Good evening, respected principal, organizing committee, resource personnel, participants. We have to come to the end of our international 1 week webinar with great success, and there are many factors that contributes towards the successful completion of our webinar. First of all, I would like to thank our principal, Mr. P.C. Lalchhanhimi, who took keen interest in its and every activities and providing consistent support for the webinar program. Secondly, my sincere thanks goes to the organizing committee, who have their everything for the smooth functioning and successful completion of the 1 week webinar. My heartfelt thanks goes to all our resource persons who, despite their busy schedule, delivered wonderful and inspiring presentation. Your presence and participation makes our webinar a success. I personally request that you all to help us out again in our future seminar webinar programs. My special thanks also goes to our technical experts who took all the pains to make this webinar a success despite several hurdles. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the participants who took keen interest in the webinar throughout the whole program. Your participation makes this webinar meaningful and a grand success. Thank you.
Please do come and visit our college. Okay. Le mang traffic ule.
Chào le.
Host at thiam mai ngom le mai. Miss Tihan kan sok thei draw.
Swak the.
Ole. Kan ne ta chalo le tuga ka laptop pale phone ka kal ko pa a thazo so kha ka mang ka tia ka chang char chara laptop mi chuak le